Hi! Colony sims are our own personal virtual ant farms, the perfect way to blow off some steam after wrapping up a massive project. Today, I've put together an epic lineup for you, the top 20 colony simulators that will easily suck you in for dozens of hours. From pirate bases on sheer cliffs to grim Lovecraftian cults and fairy tale kingdoms, there's a world here for everyone's taste. I want to start with Corsair Cove. This game from the creators of Tropico 6 lets you dive into some serious pirate management. You'll be building your base on sheer cliffs and tiny islands. Vertical gameplay is the main hook here. Your pirates will travel between taverns and docks using ziplines, elevators, and rickety bridges, creating incredibly scenic, multi-level settlements. Once you've set up solid production chains for everything from rum to flintlock pistols, you'll send your fleet out to plunder convoys and explore the hidden corners of the ocean. And here's where the game throws a curveball. Naval battles and expeditions play out as a turn-based card game. It's a great change of pace from classic city building and really makes you use your head, not just for laying out streets, but in tactical combat as well. Nova Roma. The devs behind the cozy kingdoms and castles decided to take us back to antiquity, where you get to restore the former glory of the Roman Empire, but this time, on new, uncharted lands. It's a classic city builder with very charming, slightly cartoony graphics, where the daily grind turns into pure meditation. You'll build massive aqueducts to supply your city with water, and construct majestic temples and colosseums to entertain both the patricians and the plebs. Your city will constantly face the threat of river floods, so you'll need to smartly manage water flow by building dams and canals. And let's not forget the gods. If Jupiter or Ceres feel neglected, get ready for severe thunderstorms or a brutal crop failure. Dive or Die, Children of Rain. This is a gritty colony sim and survival game where the world is flooded by an endless black rain. You play as a diver trying to save the remnants of humanity in a fragile underwater camp. Every day, you venture into the bottomless abyss, a maze of flooded ruins where oxygen runs low and terrifying mutants prowl in the dark. You have exactly 40 days before a final flood wipes out all life. Your camp here is both your burden and your only hope. Between these nerve-wracking runs, you have to manage a handful of survivors, heal their wounds, keep an eye on their sanity, and decide who to sacrifice for the greater good. ASKA. Here, you are a Viking chieftain who has to build a settlement from scratch in a mystical world. The main hook is that you play in third person and can swing an axe yourself, but your primary job is to efficiently bark orders at your NPCs. Your tribesmen will gather resources, hunt, build houses, and patrol the territory on their own. Watching your little tribe turn into a well-oiled machine is an absolute blast. But don't get too comfortable. The local winter isn't just a palette swap to white textures, it's a brutal survival test. Your villagers need warm clothes, food stashes, and reliable shelter. Plus, at night, your village will be attacked by mythical creatures straight out of Scandinavian folklore. Pax Autocratica. This is a crazy mashup of a colony sim, a first-person shooter, and a roguelike. You build a totalitarian settlement where citizens' lives are practically worthless. You can brainwash them, send them to do backbreaking labor, or sacrifice them to feed and buff your elite soldiers. You'll have to keep a very close eye on the population's loyalty and fear levels, or a bloody uprising is inevitable. But the juiciest part begins when your army heads into battle. You don't just watch them from above, you personally charge onto the battlefield, guns blazing, in first-person mode. You can take enemies prisoner and draft them into your ranks, turning your foes into loyal zealots of your empire. Pioneers of Pagonia. This game was created by the guy who designed the original The Settlers, and you can feel it in every single detail. There's no direct unit control here. You place a building, and the little guys carry the logs, saw the planks, and build the houses all on their own. The game's hustle and bustle is mesmerizing. You can literally zone out for hours just watching your production chains run. The main goal isn't a war of annihilation, but exploring magical islands and uniting scattered tribes. Sure, there are bandits and all sorts of mystical critters, but the combat isn't overbearing. It's a game about logistics, coziness, and creation. A massive selection of resources, hundreds of buildings, and incredibly pleasing, colorful visuals make it the perfect sim for unwinding after a hard day at work. Cult of the Lamb. You play as an adorable possessed lamb saved from death by an ancient deity. Your task is to start a cult in its name, and that's where the fun begins. You build your base, gather resources, and recruit cute woodland critters into the ranks of your loyal followers. While you're off on crusades, wrecking heretics and bosses in fast-paced dungeon runs, your cultists pray, work the fields, and occasionally stage a rebellion. You'll have to give them sermons, perform rituals, cook them a grassy stew, or maybe a stew made of a guilty cultist, and keep their faith meter high. The game strikes an amazing balance between bloody combat and the hilariously brutal management of your fluffy flock. Regions of Ruin Runegate. This is the sequel to a pretty successful first game, where we restore the former glory of the dwarven race. The gameplay here is split evenly down the middle. On one hand, it's an action RPG with leveling, loot, and dungeon crawling, and on the other, it's a full-blown settlement development sim. You go on expeditions, free prisoners, and gather resources to rebuild your fortress literally from the ruins. The rescued dwarves get to work in the forges, mine ore, and provide you with a steady stream of passive income. For this second installment, the devs have seriously upgraded the visuals and the sheer scale of the world. Republic of Pirates. We're heading back to the pirates, but this time with a focus on classic city building and massive naval battles. In Republic of Pirates, you'll be building a true pirate utopia. The game is heavily inspired by the Anno series. You start with simple tents and shacks, but as your Corsair's needs grow, you'll construct highly complex logistical chains across multiple islands at once. The game features gorgeous real-time naval combat. You'll personally command your galleons, board Imperial merchant ships, conquer new territories, and defend your turf from rivals. Pharaoh, A New Era. This is a remake of the legendary 1999 city-building strategy game set in ancient Egypt. The devs completely redrew the graphics, making them modern and incredibly crisp, while keeping that nostalgic, cozy isometric vibe of the original. You'll raise cities on the banks of the Nile, build monumental pyramids, and manage the economy of an entire civilization. The gameplay loop here has been proven over decades. You need to keep track of the flooding of the Nile for your harvests, set up production chains for papyrus and pottery, trade with your neighbors, and of course, try not to anger the gods. The remake added slick, modern interfaces and squashed a ton of old bugs. Clanfolk. If you love the depth of RimWorld but you're sick of constant attacks from cyborgs and space pirates, welcome to the harsh Scottish Highlands. In Clanfolk, your main and most ruthless enemy is nature itself. You take control of a small family and have to prep them for their first winter. There's no magic or sci-fi here, just realistic day-to-day survival. You'll have to gather stones by hand, chop wood, smoke meat, and sew warm pelts so your people don't freeze to death. The most amazing feature of the game is the generational shift. You literally live alongside your clan. Kids are born, grow up, help with the chores, fall in love with neighbors, grow old, and eventually pass the torch to the youth. You're not just building a base, you're building a true family legacy that will last for generations. Blacksmith Master. Here, you take charge of a medieval forge, and it is far from just a simple clicker game. It's a full-fledged economic simulator where you build the entire production chain. You'll need to send miners out for ore, smelt metal, hire apprentices, and personally design the layout of your workshop so the work never stops. The game really wins you over with its attention to detail. You can forge everything from simple kitchen knives to lavish, jewel-encrusted two-handed swords for the local lords. You have to keep an eye on your workers' mood and fatigue, set up break rooms for them, and constantly expand your inventory. If you love games about process optimization and cozy small business management in a historical setting, this forge will hook you for a long time. Worshippers of Cthulhu. Usually, in games, we're trying to stop the apocalypse and fight off cultists. But what if you were the one leading the cult? In this game, you are the High Priest, and your goal is to awaken the great Cthulhu. You'll be building your gloomy city across a chain of isolated islands, managing your followers, and making sure your cult's economy runs like clockwork. Yep, even ancient gods need solid logistics and a steady supply of lumber. But peaceful city building is only half the game. You'll have to perform gruesome rituals, declare dogmas, and sacrifice both captured non-believers and your own congregation to earn the favor of your tentacled deity. Interacting with Lovecraftian entities grants massive bonuses but demands a constant toll of blood and sanity. It's a highly stylish, dark, and unique city builder for anyone who's tired of playing the good guy. Fabledom. This is the cutest, coziest, and most relaxing city builder of recent years. You build your fairy tale kingdom in a world where pigs fly, giants roam the forests, and the houses look like they're made of marzipan. The game doesn't try to choke you with complex crises. It's all about enjoying the process, laying down pretty paths, and creating the perfect little town. But there's one unique mechanic here that the competition doesn't have: romance. Since you're ruling a fairy tale kingdom, you absolutely have to find true love. You can send gifts, exchange letters, and go on dates with the rulers of neighboring lands. A successful marriage will bring some very unique perks to your kingdom. Celestial Empire. Here, you become a provincial governor tasked with building a city worthy of the emperor himself. The game's aesthetic is mesmerizing. Pagodas, curved roofs, blooming cherry blossoms, and rice terraces look absolutely stunning. You'll need to set up a complex economy, establish trade routes, and keep a close eye on the changing seasons, because a harsh winter can easily wipe out your bamboo and rice harvests. But aside from taking care of the common folk, you'll constantly need to look to the heavens. Chinese mythology is deeply integrated into the game. The gods are watching your city closely. Build a magnificent temple and offer generous gifts, and you'll receive divine blessings and prosperity. Anger the spirits, and your colony will be hit by earthquakes, fires, or plagues. Oceaneers. This game tasks you with taking control of a floating colony to conquer the open ocean. You start with a small raft or a rusty platform and gradually turn it into a massive drifting metropolis. Resources are extracted straight from the ocean, meaning you'll have to develop fishing, desalinate water, and construct underwater drones to scavenge metal from the seafloor. Surviving on the water comes with its own harsh rules. You'll have to defend your colony against rogue waves, massive storms, and even pirate attacks. The crew of your floating base needs food, rest, and fresh water, and the limited space forces you to plan your layout as efficiently as possible. It's an awesome survival city builder that gives you a unique sense of freedom, since your city isn't tied down to one spot and can drift in search of a better life. Lessaria. If you remember the cult classic Majesty, then Lessaria will definitely make your heart beat a little faster. It's a fantasy kingdom sim where you build a city, but you can't directly control your warriors. You build taverns, mages' guilds, blacksmiths, and markets, and then you set bounties on monster heads or for exploring new territories. From there, willful heroes with their own personalities and needs step in to do the job. The economy here works brilliantly. You pay a hero for killing a goblin. The hero takes that gold and blows it on a mug of ale at your tavern, or buys a new sword from your blacksmith. The money flows right back into your treasury, and the hero gets stronger. Watching this self-regulating ecosystem is insanely fun. You have to be smart about placing your bounty flags and developing your infrastructure so your defenders don't die on their very first raid into a dragon's lair. Spellcaster University. Ever dreamed of becoming the headmaster of your own Hogwarts? Spellcaster University gives you that exact opportunity. You build your magic academy, sort students into houses, and hire teachers. The coolest feature here is the card-based building system. You don't have a standard building menu. Instead, you earn decks of cards based on your students' successes, and you use those to build alchemy labs, necromancy rooms, or cafeterias. You can develop your university in plenty of different ways. You can train righteous paladins and druids, or dark mages and demonologists. The game is packed with great humor, random events, like an orc invasion or a pet dragon escaping, and some really charming art. Abbey. In this game, you run a monastery, but the main goal of your monks isn't just praying, it's developing their very own brewery. You start with simple recipes, but over time you'll experiment with ingredients, hops, and herbs to craft unique blends of ale, stout, and porter. It's a fantastic mix of a colony sim and a tycoon game. You have to expand the monastery, keep the brothers in line, otherwise they might dip into the kegs themselves, and satisfy the whims of the local lords. If you brew the perfect pint for a baron, he might reward you handsomely with gold or protect you from bandit raids. It's a very chill and unique game with a deep crafting system, where the survival of the entire abbey hinges on your recipes. Reus 2. Rounding out our list is a game that's more of a god game, but the colony sim elements here are executed flawlessly. In Reus 2, you control gigantic divine titans that roam the planet and shape its surface. You create oceans, forests, deserts, and mountains. As soon as the conditions are right, tiny humans settle on these lands and start building their villages. You don't control the humans directly. Your job is to combine resources, plants, and animals so that humanity thrives. But if you give people too much wealth, they get greedy, start fighting amongst themselves, and might even try to attack your titans. You have to constantly walk a fine line between the prosperity of a civilization and its ambitions. I hope you found a couple of great games to dive into this weekend, and I wish your future colony a safe path free from famine, riots, and ruin. Thanks for hanging out with me. The Image Game channel was with you. Have a nice day.